Hey everybody, so I want to talk a little bit about a remote I have done on Rod Rosenstein and the map that I showed people on Sunday. That's the first thing I want to do with the remote because there's stuff that's starting to break. So I'm going to go first and show you the map. This is the remote viewings I've done. And as you can see, I was trying to get into the Justice Department a couple weeks ago. And when Barr was there, and I can never get in when Barr is there. I can never get information on Barr. But what was interesting is that the energy coming off of Rosenstein was just sheer terror. So I focused on that instead. And as Rod Rosenstein, I found myself in a terrifying situation. I was being threatened by Trumpsters. They were threatening to kill me. I received some white powder in the mail. I was kind of like a career official who had always believed in the system. I'd always believed that the good guy wins. You follow the rules. Eventually, the good guy wins. And then I found myself in a situation where I lost control in the sense that as Rosenstein, Barr now was in charge and Barr was working for the enemy. In the middle of that energy, I started to become terrified for my life. I felt like the people that were threatening to kill me were now in charge of the Justice Department. And so, in panic and fear, I did the only thing I felt I could do. I went to the FBI. And at that point, as Rod Rosenstein, I found myself with FBI officials sitting in my living room, and that I had collected documents from inside the Justice Department at great risk to myself and to two whistleblowers who had assisted me. And those files and those documents were handed to FBI and to Mueller. So we have three whistleblowers inside the Justice Department, and Rod Rosenstein felt as if he was between a rock and a hard place. It was a terrifying place to be. It wasn't just about being afraid that I was going to lose my pension. It was a real it was a real existential threat. Like I felt that the country, I didn't know, it was terrifying. It was a terrifying feeling that I could be killed, my family could be killed, and that people were now in charge of the Justice Department that may possibly have ties to a foreign government. That was how I felt as Rod Rosenstein. And so that is why the energy stream, I had no choice as Rod Rosenstein. Given the stresses that I was under, the death threats, the fact that the people threatening to kill me were now in charge of the Justice Department. The Justice Department had no interest in protecting me, and it had every interest in protecting the person whose cronies were threatening me. And so I was in a situation right before my retirement where I literally felt that my life was in danger and my family's life was in danger. And being a career official, I did the only thing I could do, which was to go to the FBI. Now, that brings us to where we're at right now, which is that Mueller, in some form, appears to be back at the Justice Department. This goes back to the remote where Michael Cohen had been going to the New York district attorney and had been testifying in ongoing criminal cases, both federal and state, through Mueller. He admitted to this when he was on the stand that he was part of a criminal investigation. Actually, it was multiple criminal investigations into the Trump organization. So, as I had also said in previous remotes, the real Mueller report was following the money, all the money threads that they had found through Cohen, and specifically the stuff they had gotten on Pecker, the blackmail schemes, etc. So I just wanted to get that out there to talk about empathy and how it's easy to judge someone unless you've been in their shoes. And in the case of Rod Rosenstein, I'm not saying he's a perfect individual, but I can tell you as him, every day I went to work, I thought it could be my last, and not because I was fired, but because I could be killed. I had extreme precautions I had to take, and my family had to take. And there even came a point where I thought my wife was going to have to go into some kind of a hiding, and in fact, I think she may have. So that's kind of what it is to sit in the shoes of another person. But the other remote I want to give has to do with UFOs. Is it Russia? Is it UFOs? You know, I wanted the opinions of the other readers, so I sent an email and said, what do you think? I sent them some articles. I think people think it's a combination of things. I think it's a combination of U.S. experimental aircraft. We have a base. I'll show you the remote. Here is my remote, and I'm using colors to denote safe zones. The yellow and red zones appear to be experimental aircraft coming from North Korea, China, and Russia. Russia coming in and experimenting with areas in the north, trying to get through the Bering Strait, trying to move trade out, but specifically also they've developed drones that can enter and leave submarines. This is the latest thing with the drones. And so what they're trying to do, if you look at the map in that red, orange areas, they're trying to take the north and turn it into a trade route, and they're trying to militarize it, in a way lassoing in the United States. The blue zone is experimental aircraft I detected, like the Naval Air Base and Air Force, the naval areas in Southern California, etc. Naval bases, yeah, that's right. They have experimental aircraft. They're also periodically sending out satellites. So some of that activity is going on. My concern here, if you look at the area in the west, but north, all the way north to south, but specifically north, you're seeing a hotbed potentially of military strikes against the United States. And this is an area where we could be seeing a lot of drone activity and U.S. Air Force starting to concentrate because it's becoming a vulnerable area. In terms of drones, both Russian drones coming from submarines and American experimental drones that are being confused with UFOs, those are probably coming from Cuba and the United States. You know, they have international waters there, and Russia has diplomatic relations with Cuba. We have seen submarines periodically entering into United States waters. And if they are using drones that can enter and leave their submarines, that would be in violation of treaties. They're entering into U.S., possibly from Cuban waters. So that's the concern. So the green areas appear to be unexplained phenomenon. That means that when I scan the area, they appear to be an intelligence or an energy that did not appear to be from either the United States or from some kind of a foreign government, and that's in green. And you can see quite a lot of activity, for some strange reason, does appear to be this bizarre phenomenons in the northern United States, Canada. The stuff I saw in Arizona looked a lot like experimental aircraft, both commercial, private investors like the Flying Man experiments that they were doing, the booster rockets, etc. But you're also seeing flying car experiments, etc. A lot of that stuff taking place Texas, Arizona, in the desert. So a lot of the UFO phenomenon is just looks to be experimental. But you do have that green area, and some of that does appear to be entering into the southwestern United States, hovering. It actually, that when you think about it, that's a pretty large area of swath of just strange activity that I couldn't seem to figure out what it was. But anyway, there's my video for that, and thanks for watching tonight's remote view. If you're trying to get in for a reading, you can go to tarotwithwhimsy.com. And if you need to see me as a doctor, you can go to drwhimsy.com, and I'm available for telemedicine. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.